Hello, my name is Luigi Biel, and today I'm here to discuss my analysis on the environmental impact statement for the Arecibo Waste-to-Energy Recovery Project located in Arecibo, Puerto Rico, currently being proposed by a private developer. The EIS was created to identify any potential impacts which are associated with the construction of the WTE and recovery project located in Arecibo, which may yield hazardous conditions to the surrounding environment or pose human health risks associated to residents living near the plant. The target audience for this presentation is any government official that works for the Rural Utility Services, an agency that's located within the United States Department of Agriculture. The goal for this presentation is to convince said government official to reconsider the current EIS as environmental and human health impact findings warrant further analysis of the surveyed area in Arecibo. The figures displayed depict the proposed building site in Arecibo. Figure A depicts the current state of the project site, which was a former paper mill, and if approved, the construction of a WTE and resource recovery facility would be utilized to generate electricity using municipal solid waste. Figure B depicts site plans and building layouts of the proposed project site. Positive environmental impact findings identified through the EIS were both electrical and waste disposal needs being partially met. The project is prompted in part by Puerto Rico's dependency on fossil fuels to meet energy demands. In 2013, it was found that an estimated 55% of the island's electrical needs were met by the consumption of fossil fuels. Post-implementation, the Arecibo WTE project would operate at 94% capacity while producing reliable electricity to Puerto Rico's Electric Power Authority. Additionally, of the 29 municipal landfills situated in Puerto Rico, 21 of the current island's landfills do not comply with Puerto Rico or federal landfill requirements. If constructed, the WTE project site would allow for the processing and recycling of solid wastes along with the reductions in landfill use. Negative environmental impact findings identified through the EIS were selected location site, potential groundwater pollution, and ambient air quality concerns associated to the site. 33 potential site locations were analyzed using floodplain analysis. Of all the locations analyzed, the Arecibo site was determined to be the preferred selection despite it being in a geographical area prone to large flooding events. Secondly, there was an observed risk for groundwater pollution in the site area via chemical spills during construction and/or post-implementation of the project. Findings indicated that any leakage of the water line may pollute the groundwater, causing a disruption of water consumption in the surrounding areas. Lastly, an air quality analysis was performed and findings indicated that it met the Puerto Rico Environmental Quality Board standards for air quality. However, changing wind directions and wind speeds may potentially affect the environment once the project is implemented. Positive health impacts identified through the EIS were waste disposal needs, fossil fuel reliance, and a socio-economic boost to the community. If not constructed, Puerto Rico residents will continue to have expanded waste management issues as current waste management facilities are nearing their landfill capacity. Secondly, Puerto Rico's reliance on fossil fuels would be diminished as mechanisms for alternative energy would be put in place to produce energy. Lastly, residents of the area would receive a socio-economic boost in both construction and operation phases as it would provide jobs to the local community in Puerto Rico. Negative health impacts identified through the EIS were flooding factors and air quality concerns. Recent environmental disasters such as Hurricanes Irma, Jose, and Maria have raised additional concerns over the selected construction site decision. While relocation of the selected site is suggested, proper mitigation strategies to flood-proof the Arecibo project need to be factored into the construction to avoid any additional risks of flooding near the facility. If flooding were to occur, flood response measures need to be developed to ensure the health and safety of the workers along with the residents of the region. Air quality issues pose a concern for the public health of the residents as there is a potential to emit hazardous air pollutants during the operation of the Arecibo WTE project via the combustion of solid wastes. During combustion, ultrafine particles consistent with soot, sulfate, and or nitrate particles can then make their way into lungs, which can lead to many chronic health issues. To further expand on the negative impacts and additional analysis that's required for the EIS on the Arecibo WTE project, I interviewed Mr. Raymond Santillan. Questions warranting further consideration from the current EIS that developed through the interview process consisted of environmental impacts from recent hurricanes on the proposed project site. Mr. Santillan believes that an amendment to the final EIS should include more recent historical flood information that's associated to hurricanes, since the only reference to hurricanes on the EIS was from Hurricane George in 1998. Additionally, The impact on human health regarding the incineration of solid wastes. Mr. Santalan believes that although there are certain exposures to human health, as long as there is proper governance involved through engineering protocols, regulatory compliances, and standards of protocols, the surrounding community should not be affected. Mr. Santalan also addressed the changing wind directions question that may potentially affect public health of the surrounding area. His response was that his only concern was going to be the odors being emitted from the emissions of the incinerators. In conclusion, with all of the evidence proposed in this presentation, an amended EIS should be considered as current environmental disasters have merited an additional analysis. In addition, further standards of protocol should be put in place to be proactive when referencing the management of potential health hazards. Lastly, if the selected site location for the Arecibo WTE project should be reconsidered due to the high flooding events in the area. Ultimately, if the private developer chooses not to select a different location for the plant, proper mitigation strategies to flood-proof the area should be factored during construction to avoid any additional risks of flooding. If flooding were to occur, flood response measures should be developed to ensure the health and safety of workers and residents in the area.